My mom blew my $37K emergency fund to bail out my deadbeat sister's house, then acted like I'd be cool with it. So I smiled, reported the transfer as fraud, and watched her panic as the bank pulled up an hour later. When my mom showed up at my apartment that night, I already knew something was wrong. She doesn't just drop by. Not since I moved to Denver and started putting distance between us. But there she was standing in my doorway, clutching a thick manila folder like it contained the cure for cancer. She smiled like nothing was weird. "Eli, honey," she said softly, "I need to talk to you. It's about family." I should have shut the door right there, but I didn't. She walked straight past me, sat on my couch, and opened the folder. My stomach tightened before I even saw what was inside. Bank statements, my bank statements. From my private account, the one no one was supposed to know about. $42,000. Every deposit, every balance, every transaction. Right there, printed neatly, with my name and account number staring back at me like an accusation. "Mom," I said, barely keeping my voice steady. "How the hell did you get this?" She waved her hand like she was brushing off lint. "Oh, don't be dramatic. What matters is that it's gone to a good cause." My heart dropped. "What do you mean gone?" She reached into the folder again and pulled out a second paper, a payment confirmation. $38,000 transferred from my account to a mortgage lender in Albuquerque. "The bank was about to take Nora's house," she said, like it was obvious. "Your sister's been so stressed. She didn't deserve to lose her home, not after everything she's been through. I fixed it for her." I just stared at her. The words didn't register at first. "You used my money," I finally said, her face hardened. "I used our money, family money. You always said family comes first, right? You can make it back, Nora couldn't." I was silent. She took that as permission to keep talking. "I did what any mother would do," she continued, with that same proud tone she used when she used to show off Nora's high school dance trophies. "And you'll understand someday when you have kids of your own." I didn't say a word. I just smiled, a small, calm smile that she didn't understand. "Of course, Mom," I said. "I completely understand." She relaxed instantly, mistaking my composure for surrender. "Good, I knew you'd be reasonable." She stood, smoothed her sweater, and kissed my forehead. "You'll thank me later, sweetie." The door clicked shut behind her. I sat perfectly still for about 30 seconds, then opened my laptop. I went straight to my bank portal, not the regular account she knew about, the hidden one I'd created under a different security protocol. $43.17. That was all that was left. I stared at the screen while something cold settled in my chest. She'd used my personal documents. She must have dug through old records, maybe even hired someone to hack through security. She'd planned this. My own mother. I opened my photo app, recorded a video of every page she'd left behind, timestamped it, and saved it all to a secure drive. Then I called the bank, calmly, patiently, like I was ordering pizza. "I'd like to report a fraudulent transaction," I said. The woman on the other end asked, "Was this recent?" "Yes," I said, staring at the folder sitting on my coffee table. "Yesterday, $38,000 unauthorized wire transfer." By the time I hung up, I'd frozen the account, reversed the transfer, and initiated a fraud claim. Then headlights hit my driveway. I peeked through the blinds. A silver SUV. My mom's car. She was back already. I watched her get out, phone pressed to her ear, pacing. Then another car pulled up beside her. My sister, Nora, they both looked furious. I locked the door, set my phone to record, and waited for the knock that was definitely coming. But it didn't come. Instead, I heard my mother's voice outside, low and angry. "He wasn't supposed to find out this fast," she hissed. Then Nora's, sharper, "You told me he'd never notice." My chest went tight. What the hell were they talking about? Because suddenly I realized this wasn't just about the $38,000. This was about something much, much bigger. And I was about to find out exactly how deep it went. Growing up, I was the background kid, the quiet one who fixed things when they broke and paid for things when no one else could. Nora, my older sister, was the golden child, always center stage, always getting rescued. My mom, Lorraine, used to say she was born for big things. I guess big things meant getting bylaid out of every mess she ever made. We lived in a suburb outside of Tucson, and Dad worked long hours as a mechanic while Mom ran a craft boutique that never made money. When I turned 16, Dad gave me his old pickup and said, "Now you can help with gas when we visit your sister." Even then, it was clear. Nora's comfort came before anyone else's needs. It started small. Mom would call me at college. "Sweetie, could you cover the electric bill this month? Your dad's paycheck is late." I'd wire $200, thinking it was temporary. Then Nora lost a job, needed a short-term loan for rent, and somehow never mentioned paying it back. Every time, Mom promised it would even out someday. It never did. When I finally landed a full-time job at an insurance firm, I thought it was my chance to build something for myself. Instead, it made me the family's go-to bank. My mom called it teamwork. I called it exhaustion. By 27, I'd lent them over 20 grand, lent, because I was stupid enough to think it'd return. But I learned my lesson the day I caught my dad trying to use my debit card. He said he accidentally grabbed it from the drawer at their house. I didn't believe that for a second. That's when I moved my money into a completely new account, different bank, different login, no linked contact info. I never told a soul. I even used a new email that didn't have my name in it. I called it Vault. That account became sacred. 18% of every paycheck went there. I told no one, not even my girlfriend at the time, Marissa. Every password was random and stored in a physical notebook hidden behind drywall in my closet. I was careful, paranoid, even obsessive. But that paranoia saved me. Meanwhile, Nora's perfect life was collapsing in slow motion. She'd married Dean, a flashy guy who bragged about his real estate connections, but couldn't close a single deal. They bought a house they couldn't afford, threw parties they couldn't pay for, and posted photos of themselves on boats they didn't own. Mom called it manifesting success. I called it denial. 3 months ago, Mom called me crying. "Eli, they're behind on their mortgage. If they lose this house, Nora will be ruined. You have money, don't you?" I told her I didn't. She didn't believe me. That's when she got quiet and I heard typing in the background. I didn't think much of it then. Now I realize she was already digging. Since then, I noticed weird things, letters addressed to me from banks I didn't use, password reset emails I never triggered, someone trying to log into my PayPal from a device in Arizona. I changed everything again. Still, the feeling never left that she was watching, waiting for me to slip. Then came last week, the Wednesday that wrecked everything. I came home to find my mother waiting with that manila folder like she'd won the lottery. And when she said, "I used your money to save your sister's house," it all clicked. She hadn't just guessed I had savings, she knew. She'd gotten inside somehow. But here's the part that won't stop eating at me. When she said, "I fixed it for Nora," she wasn't surprised that I had the money. She was confident, like she'd known about that account for a long time. Like maybe I wasn't the only one keeping secrets. And that thought that my hidden safety net was never truly hidden kept me up all night. The next morning, I checked my security logs again, and there it was, a login from a familiar IP address. Not my mother's, not Nora's. My dad's, and that's when I realized my mom didn't pull this off alone. The next day, I drove straight to my parents' house. It was barely 8 a.m., but my dad's truck was already in the driveway. Mom's SUV sat beside it like evidence of a crime scene. I parked on the street, took a breath, and rehearsed what I'd say: stay calm, stay factual, don't let them twist this. Dad opened the door before I even knocked. "Hey, son," he said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Where's Mom?" "She's in the kitchen," he said. "Listen, Eli, before you start—" "No," I cut him off. "You don't get to start. I need to ask you something." I took my phone out and showed him the screen, my account login history, highlighted in red. "This IP address," I said. "It's from here. Why were you logging into my bank?" He flinched just slightly. "That must be a mistake." "It's not a mistake." My voice was shaking now. "You accessed my private account, the one no one was supposed to know about. You helped her, didn't you?" He sighed and rubbed the back of his neck like I was overreacting. "Eli, your mom was desperate. Nora was losing her house. She's been depressed, talking about—" "Don't," I snapped. "Don't guilt me with her drama. You committed fraud, Dad. You broke into my account." He looked at me, tired but defiant. "We didn't steal it. We borrowed it. You've always been the responsible one. You can rebuild it. We were trying to save your sister's life." My laugh came out cold. "With my money," he shrugged. "Family helps family." I wanted to punch something. Instead, I stepped back, trying to breathe. "You have no idea what you've done. The bank reversed the transfer. They're investigating now. You both could be charged." That got his attention. What do you mean reversed? I mean, the $38,000 is back in my account. And your little rescue mission just triggered a fraud investigation. His face went pale. Eli, you can't. Oh, I can, and I did. Mom came into the room then, still in her robe, looking furious. You reported it to the bank. After everything we did for you. After everything you did to me, I corrected. She stepped closer, eyes blazing. You're destroying this family. No, Mom, you did that when you decided my hard work was your safety net. For a second, I thought she might slap me. But then her expression shifted calm, almost smug. You think you've won, she said quietly, but you don't know everything. What's that supposed to mean? She smiled, a small, eerie smile that made my stomach twist. Ask Nora where the rest of the money went. What rest? She turned away, picked up her coffee, and said, the part she didn't tell me about, the part that wasn't for the mortgage. And just like that, she left the room. Dad stood there, frozen, guilt all over his face. What the hell is she talking about? I demanded. He didn't answer. I stormed out, got in my car, and drove straight to Nora's house in Albuquerque, 5 hours, no music, no breaks. I rehearsed what I'd say 1,000 times. When I finally pulled up, I saw her standing on the porch, phone in hand. She looked exhausted and terrified. She didn't even let me knock. I know why you're here, she said. Good, I replied. Then you can tell me what Mom meant, what money? Her lip trembled. She stepped aside to let me in, eyes darting toward the hallway like she was afraid someone was listening. Eli, she whispered, it wasn't just the mortgage. Brad owed people money. What kind of people? She hesitated, then looked me straight in the eyes. The kind who don't call the bank when something goes wrong, they show up. My blood ran cold. You mean, she nodded, tears forming. Mom didn't just save my house, she saved our lives. And that's when I realized this wasn't just theft anymore. It was something darker, something criminal. I didn't even sit down. I just stared at Nora, trying to process what she'd said. Start talking, I told her. She wrung her hands. Brad got involved with a guy named Calder. He runs these, I don't know, private loans. No paperwork. No background checks, just quick cash and worse consequences. Loan shark, she nodded, whispering, 50,000. Brad took it last year to flip a property. The deal fell apart and Calder wanted his money back with interest. How much interest? She looked away. Almost 80 now. I felt my chest tighten. So what? Brad borrowed from criminals and you all decided my money would fix that? She shook her head, crying harder. It wasn't like that. Mom didn't know about Calder. She thought it was just the mortgage. I told her we needed 38,000 to stop the bank from foreclosing, but the truth was you funneled some of it to Brad's dealer, I finished for her. Her head snapped up. He's not a dealer, I laughed, sharp and humorless. Yeah, that makes it better, she stepped forward. You don't understand, Eli. Calder threatened us. He said if we didn't pay by the end of the month, he'd make an example out of Brad. Or me, he sent photos. Photos? She grabbed her phone from the counter and scrolled fast, then shoved the screen in my face. A picture of her car, parked outside her work. Another of their living room window. A third of their front door with a knife sticking through an envelope taped to it. Inside the envelope, a photo of her sleeping. My stomach dropped. Jesus Christ, I whispered. So yeah, she said bitterly. That's what your money went to. Not the house. The house is already gone. Brad missed too many payments. Mom thought she was saving me, but I was already drowning. I backed up, running my hands over my face. You could have told me. I would have helped legally, properly. But you lied, you all lied. I couldn't tell you, she snapped. You'd judge me, you always do. Because you make reckless decisions and expect everyone else to fix them. She threw the phone onto the couch. I didn't ask Mom to steal from you. Then who did? She froze, and that silence told me everything. Brad, I said quietly. Nora swallowed. He said he had a plan. Said your mom still had your documents from when you lived at home. He just needed her cooperation to get into the account. Cooperation? Her voice cracked. He paid her. I stared at her. He paid her. She didn't want to do it at first, Nora said weakly. But Brad offered her 5,000 in cash. He said it was just borrowing, that you'd never notice. Mom agreed. The room spun. My own mother sold me out for 5 grand. Nora kept talking, voice trembling. When the money went through, Brad took 10,000 immediately to pay Calder's men. But he lied about how much he owed. They came back 2 nights ago demanding more. That's why Mom's been panicking. I stepped back. My pulse was hammering. So she wasn't saving you, she was covering up for him. Nora nodded miserably. He's gone, Eli. Brad's gone. He left last night, took my car and disappeared. Calder's men are calling again. They think I know where he is. My mind was racing. Mom, Dad, Nora, all of them tangled in this web of lies and stupidity, and now dangerous people were involved. But beneath all that chaos was something worse. Because if Mom took a payment from Brad to access my accounts, then the fraud wasn't just desperation. It was premeditated. She chose to betray me. And now I had proof. I pulled my phone out, hit record, and said, "Say that again." Slowly. Nora's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" "Protecting myself." I let her repeat every word about Mom taking the bribe, about Brad, about Calder. When she was done, I ended the recording and saved it. I looked her in the eye and said quietly, "This time, I'm not just calling the bank." She looked terrified. "What are you going to do?" I grabbed my keys. "I'm going to end this the way it started, with Mom." Because if she thought stealing from me was bad, she hadn't seen what happened when I decided to get even. I didn't sleep for 2 days. Not because I was anxious, because I was assembling evidence like a surgeon laying out tools. This wasn't going to be an angry phone call or a public post. It was going to be methodical, slow, and irreversible. If they wanted to play criminal, I would meet them at that table with paperwork and cameras and lawyers. First, I mapped every transaction, every text, every help me voicemail I'd ever buried. I had the folder Mom left, the bank reversal confirmation, Nora's frightened confession, and the login records showing Dad's IP. I sorted it into chronological order and printed copies. Then I digitized everything twice and mailed sealed backups to an email I knew they'd never touch. If anything disappeared from my apartment or my cloud, I'd have ownership outside my hands. Second, I called a lawyer a consultation, nothing more at first. I needed to know how real this was. Wire fraud, identity theft, aiding and abetting. The lawyer used the words I wanted to hear. "This is prosecutable, and you have substantial civil claims." He also used the words I didn't want to hear. "This will bring the family into court. It will destroy relationships and public reputations." Good. That was the point. Then I started the hard, ugly work of planning without feeling. I told myself the revenge would be surgical, not theatrical. The goal was accountability, and a consequence large enough to make them understand that I wasn't a bottomless wallet. I rehearsed the steps. File the criminal report, let the bank's fraud unit handle the money, then follow up with a civil suit for conversion and emotional distress. I made lists, names, times, evidence, and labeled them like exhibits in a trial. I also secured myself. Changed every password, moved the remaining savings into multiple accounts spread across institutions, set up alerts that would call me and 3 trusted friends if anything triggered. I bought a cheap, inconspicuous camera and pointed it at my front door. If anyone came knocking with anger or threats, they'd be recorded. I stopped meeting people without telling Tyler where I was. Paranoia felt like armor now. The coldest part was making a plan for Mom. I wasn't naive. I knew she wouldn't understand legal nuance. She'd react the way she'd always reacted: guilt, apology, then manipulation. So I prepared for each stage. If she begged, I'd let her beg into a recorded call. If she threatened, I'd let her threaten into a written message. The point wasn't to humiliate, it was to document the person who chose to steal from her son for cash and a lie. There was a tactical twist I hadn't expected until later that night when I replayed Nora's phone video. Calder's men had left a tag, a cheap, neon sticker with a symbol on it, on the envelope they shoved through her door. It was a stupid little thing, like a brand. The sticker matched a local graffiti crew's logo at first glance, but when I dug deeper, it linked to a small-time enforcement outfit known in certain circles for collections. I flagged it. If Calder had associates, those associates had footprints, phone pings, surveillance from gas stations, that knife photo email with EXIF metadata. I cataloged it all. A second twist slipped in while I was cataloging. Dad's IP looked like his, but the time didn't match when he was home. Someone had used his truck's hotspot on a late-night run. I noted that too, and I added a new hypothesis to the list. Maybe Dad was covering for someone else. The more threads I pulled, the more tangled the family web became. Betrayal was not a single act. It was a habit that had metastasized. By the end of the week, my plan felt solid. I scheduled appointments. Bank investigator, police fraud unit, my lawyer. I printed a one-page timeline and stuck it to the inside of my closet door, a reminder that every action I took had to be clean, legal, and recorded. Revenge for me wasn't theatrics. It was the slow collapse of their lies under the weight of evidence. I called Tyler and said, "If this goes public, don't let them gaslight you." He laughed, then turned serious. "We'll be there." When Mom called that night, I let it ring until voicemail. Then I played it back and listened to her cry into the phone. I saved the file. The next morning, I filed the police report. I closed my laptop and didn't look back. The machine was in motion, and once started, it didn't stop for apologies. 3 days after I filed the report, I got a call from Detective Alvarez at the Financial Crimes Unit. Calm, professional voice, but there was something in his tone, curiosity, maybe even disbelief. "Mr. Lawson," he said, "we've reviewed the evidence you submitted. It's thorough. But there's something you should see." He asked me to come in person. When I got there, he slid a printed document across the table. It was a statement from my sister Nora. "She came in this morning," he said. "Claimed the money transfer was authorized, said you gave her permission over text." I froze. "That's a lie," he nodded. "I figured you'd say that, but she had screenshots." I leaned forward, scanning the printouts. There they were, text bubbles that looked like mine. "Go ahead and use the savings account, Nora. Family first." Sent from my number. Time-stamped 2 days before the transfer, except I'd never sent them. I pulled out my phone immediately and opened my messages. The thread with Nora was empty, just the argument from months ago. No such texts. "Someone faked this." The detective folded his arms. "Any chance she could have cloned your number or accessed your SIM card?" I started to say no, then stopped. I remembered something. A year ago, my mom had helped me switch phone carriers because she said her family plan had better rates. I'd stupidly let her set it up. She'd had access to my account PIN, my entire phone identity. It wasn't Nora. It was Mom. "She spoofed it," I said quietly. "My mother sent those messages to herself from a cloned line." The detective nodded. "That's possible. We'll pull the telecom records. But you should know she's also filed a counterclaim." My stomach sank. "A counterclaim?" He handed me another sheet. "Fraudulent accusation, intentional emotional distress, familial defamation. Filed by Lorraine Lawson, my mother." "She says you're fabricating a fraud case out of spite," Alvarez said. "Claims you're unstable, obsessed with money, and retaliating because she refused to lend you funds for a gambling issue." I laughed, an ugly, humorless sound. "I don't even gamble." "She also attached a fake screenshot of a betting app with your name on it," he said, lowering his voice. "It's sloppy, but it complicates things." I sat back, stunned. My mother wasn't just defending herself. She was going scorched earth. Alvarez must have seen the shock on my face. "Look," he said, "between us, this looks like someone trying to bury you before you bury them. But the data trail will decide." When I left the precinct, I sat in my car for 10 full minutes staring at the steering wheel. She'd faked texts, fabricated evidence, filed a counterclaim. That wasn't panic, that was strategy. I drove to Tyler's place that night, laid everything out for him. He listened, jaw tight. "She's trying to flip the script," he said. "Make you the villain before she's exposed." "Yeah," I said. "And the worst part? She's good at it." Because that was the truth. Lorraine Lawson had always been manipulative, the kind of woman who could convince a pastor she was the victim even while holding the knife. She knew how to weaponize pity, how to cry on command, how to turn guilt into control. She'd spent her whole life bending people with emotional debt, and now she was doing it to me. That night, I got an email from a blocked address. Just one sentence: "You should have left it alone. Family secrets aren't meant to be exposed." There was no signature, but I didn't need one. The wording, the punctuation, it was her. For the first time in weeks, fear crept in. Because I realized this wasn't just about stolen money or revenge anymore. This was a war, one my mother had been preparing for far longer than I ever knew. And somewhere beneath all her chaos and lies, there was something else, a reason. Something dark enough to make her risk prison, to destroy me, her only son, just to keep it hidden. I had no idea what it was yet, but I was going to find out. Detective Alvarez called again 3 days later. "We got the telecom data," he said. The texts from your number didn't come from your phone. They came from a secondary SIM card registered under your name, added to a family plan by your mother. I didn't even respond, just silence. My stomach was a stone. She cloned your identity, Eli. It's textbook fraud. But that's not the only thing. We traced the IP addresses tied to the transfers and text timestamps. There's something else you need to see. He asked me to come in person again. When I got there, he handed me another file, not bank paperwork this time. Legal documents. Property transfers, LLC filings, 2 old mortgage accounts I'd never heard of. All of them with my signature, or rather, something that looked like it. What the hell is this? He pointed to the header. Lawson and Lawson Family Properties, LLC, registered 2 years ago, filed by my mother and father. My name was listed as the third partner. Your mother's been using your identity for longer than you think, Alvarez said quietly. This LLC was used to open several lines of credit, roughly $86,000 in combined loans. I felt the blood drain from my face. She's been borrowing money in my name, he nodded, and paying it back just enough to keep it hidden. But that's not the worst part. He flipped to another page, a letter from the state tax board. It showed a lien filed against me for unpaid taxes related to the LLC. Your mother used your social security number on the filing, Alvarez said. You're on the hook for the debt unless we prove identity theft. I just stared at the paper, trying to process it. Why? I finally whispered. Why would she do all this? He sighed. We asked her that during her initial interview, I blinked. You spoke to her. She came in voluntarily yesterday, he said. Said she wanted to clear the air. She admitted to using your documents, but not for theft. She said she did it to protect you. Protect me from what? He hesitated. From your father, I frowned. What does that even mean? Alvarez leaned back. According to her, your father's been hiding gambling debts for years. He took out cash loans using her name and the family house as collateral. When the collection agencies started showing up, she panicked. She claims she created the LLC under your identity to shift the assets out of his reach, to protect the family if he went under. When the creditors got close again, she moved money from your account to make it look like you were the solvent partner. That way, they wouldn't go after the house. My brain couldn't keep up. She used me as a financial shield. Essentially, Alvarez said. She told us she never meant to hurt you. She said you were the only one who'd come out clean. She wanted it to stay that way. I laughed, sharp and bitter. So she commits felonies to keep me clean. That's rich. He slid another page forward, a copy of her written statement. There was a line highlighted in yellow. Eli never appreciated what I've done for this family. I've sacrificed my life to fix their mistakes. He wouldn't understand that some of us were born to carry the burden. My chest tightened as I read it again. It wasn't guilt or love driving her. It was control, pure, poisonous control. She didn't protect me. She used me because in her mind I wasn't a person. I was a tool. The reliable one, the responsible one. The insurance policy she could cash out when the others failed. That's why she'd stolen the $38,000. Not out of desperation, but because she saw it as hers. Because she'd already built her life around the idea that everything I had was owed to her. And when I finally drew a line, she couldn't stand it. So she burned everything down instead. Alvarez cleared his throat. You still want to pursue charges? I stared at the paper. My mother's handwriting looked neat and deliberate. No remorse, no shame, just justification. Yeah, I said quietly. I want to pursue everything. He nodded. Then you'll need to be ready. She's already lawyering up. I smirked. So am I, because now I understood the truth. My mother didn't destroy our family out of love. She did it to stay in control, to prove she could still pull every string, even if it meant strangling the people she claimed to protect. And I was going to show her what losing control really looked like. I spent the next 2 months turning my mother's own tactics against her, but I did it clean, by the book, and with witnesses. Step 1. I went public, not online, not Reddit-level public, but legally public. I filed the civil suit in Maricopa County, Eli Lawson versus Lorraine Lawson and Daniel Lawson. The filing wasn't just a financial claim. It included defamation, identity theft, and emotional damages. The moment it hit the county's online record system, it was open for anyone to view: employers, neighbors, friends from church. Their quiet little reputation as the family who raised 2 successful kids ended that day. Step 2. I froze everything they owned. With my lawyer's help, we got a temporary restraining order to prevent the sale or transfer of any property tied to my stolen identity. That included the family home. Their mortgage company got notice, their accounts got flagged, and for once, they were the ones scrambling for explanations. Step 3. I sent a certified letter to every creditor listed under the fake LLC, complete with a copy of the police report and fraud case number. It took 1 week for them to pivot, all contact with me stopped, and all communication was redirected to Lorraine. That same week, Dad called from an unknown number. I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail anyway. "You've humiliated your mother. She's sick over this. She hasn't eaten in days. Are you proud of yourself?" I saved it, added it to my documentation. Step 4, I met with the DA's office. Alvarez came with me. He laid out every file, every forged document, every trace of money laundering through the fake company. The DA listened quietly, then said the words I'd been waiting for: "We'll prosecute." That's when it became real. No more hypotheticals. Lorraine Lawson was about to stand trial for felony identity theft and wire fraud. Dad was facing accessory charges. The night before the arraignment, I got one last call from an unfamiliar number. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. It was my mother. Her voice was thin, cracking like paper. "Eli," she whispered, "please don't do this. You're destroying your own blood." I didn't say anything. She kept talking, desperation creeping in. "You think you're punishing me, but you're killing your father. He's the reason I did all this. I just wanted to protect you both." "Protect us?" I finally said. "You built a company under my name, stole my savings, and tried to frame me as a gambler. That's not protection, Mom. That's obsession." She started to cry, not the soft kind, but ugly sobbing. "I was trying to fix everything. You don't understand what it's like to carry a family." "I do," I said coldly. "I've been carrying this one my entire life." Then I hung up. The trial lasted 5 weeks. She pled guilty after the second hearing when Alvarez produced telecom data proving she cloned my SIM. She didn't look at me once during sentencing. The judge gave her 18 months and probation. Dad got community service and fines. The fake LLC was dissolved. The liens against my name were cleared. I didn't celebrate. There was no satisfaction in watching your own parents being led out of a courtroom by deputies. But there was peace, heavy, quiet peace. The kind that comes when chaos finally stops. I sold everything connected to that past: my old truck, the apartment furniture, even the clothes that still smelled faintly of their house. Moved to a quiet place outside Flagstaff. Started over. No shared accounts, no family plans, no one who could reach into my life without permission. Nora texted once months later. "They're out. Mom's not the same. She keeps saying you turned into someone cold." I stared at it for a long time before replying. "No, I turned into someone finished. Now I wake up in my own home, every dollar and document under my control. No more guilt, no more phone calls that start with 'Eli, I need a favor.' Just silence, coffee, and space that belongs entirely to me." People say revenge never brings peace. They're wrong. Revenge didn't bring peace. Boundaries did. And if that makes me the villain in my mother's story, I can live with that.